good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the third and final session of the Manufacturing Summit, an inaugural one at Mobile World Congress this year. So thanks so much for joining us. For those of you that have joined us on the previous sessions, welcome back. And for those that are coming for the first time, then welcome. If you have missed our previous two sessions, then there will be some edited highlights available on the GSMA manufacturing website in the days closing Mobile World Congress. So, in this session, we are going to be talking about kickstarting 5G for manufacturing. And as with all of the other sessions, we've got absolutely great turnout, and we've got lots of insight and experience from our expert guests. So, next we'll be hearing from Andres Escribano, who will be talking about some 5G case studies. And then following that, we'll be moving on to our third panel of the day, where Cedric Foray from EY will be moderating, and we'll be hearing from Orange, Nokia, Rohde and Schwarz, and also from u-blox. So, without further ado, though, I'm keen to move on to our first session, which is a fireside chat with Sylvia Lowe. So, Sylvia is a head of technology strategy, beg your pardon, at u-blox, and you're also on the UK 5G advisory board, and you're also a board member of the 5G ACIA. And it's in that capacity that we're absolutely delighted to welcome you today, because some of you may be aware that recently the GSMA and 5G ACIA have just agreed a MOU to work together on industrial 5G. So the agreement is focusing on fostering cooperation and synergies in this area. So Sylvia, welcome and thank you for joining me today. Perhaps we could start with you providing an overview of the 5G ACIA and its members.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone here, and thank you very much, Joe, for the great introduction. And indeed, thank you for inviting 5G ACIA at this prestigious GSMA Manufacturing Summit. First of all, I'd like to thank you and delighted indeed us for establish such collaborative relationship with GSMA. Special kudos to you, Joe, and GSMA colleagues here, and also some of 5G ACIA members to make this happen. Now, on 5G ACIA, 5G Alliances for Connected Industry and Automation, we were established back in 2018 and has become a global central forum for driving and shaping industry 5G. So now we have about 90 members globally, and we bring all the stakeholders from the ecosystem together in that platform to really, first of all, ensure that the demand and needs from the manufacturing sectors are well reflected in the standardization and regulatory process. But also we evaluate technical and business aspects as well to understand where are the challenges and what are the pain points from the sectors that need to be addressed. So we did a couple of integration analysis, for example, 5G with existing infrastructures and the process applications, but also we have testbed and trials program undergoing, where at the moment we have 7 approved testbed and trials. So really a platform to get everybody on board and share the knowledge skill sets, because you can easily access to the knowledge from the partners, but foster a collaborative environment to make 5G a success.
Fabulous, thank you. Great. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, fabulous, thank you. Great summary there. So I think for, well, Sylvia, of course, you know, and maybe some members of the audience know, but in the GSMA, we also have a 5G manufacturing forum and community. And the aim of that is to explore how 5G and related technologies can help to benefit manufacturing verticals, and how we can advance the global adoption of 5G across the whole industrial sector. So the 5G IoT Forum at the GSMA, it comprises enterprises, mobile network operators, and really importantly, the wider ecosystem as well. And so a common aim, I think, between the GSMA and 5G ACIA, as we know, is to ensure that the 5G technology is really fit for purpose and that it can be successfully deployed by manufacturing and industry 4.0 to meet the ambitions of that industry sector. So I think throughout this summit so far in the previous two sessions, we've heard around some of the use cases. So we heard from KPN talking about augmented reality and advances in human-computer interaction. We're going to be hearing from Telefonica next. And, but on the other side of that, we've also seen that there are some challenges and some areas to kind of overcome or to improve, really, to help roll out that adoption. So we know that it's still fairly early in terms of commercialisation of 5G in this area. But there's a real opportunity for us to really understand what those barriers are and then help to work with network operators and other providers to help them to really respond with the tools and the propositions to help make that transition, that digital transition easier. So with all of that said, and we have heard a lot from the mobile industry side as well today, but it would be really great to hear from the 5G ACIA perspective. What are those areas that you see as challenges right now for the industrial sector?
Yes, indeed. To address the challenges that you mentioned and also the colleagues mentioned this morning, really we need to understand where are the end users on that adoption journey, and where they are really depends on, these, first of all, I would say 3 phases. The first one is about why and what. So before you kind of start to deploy your 5G in your factory, really you need to understand, why do I need 5G? Why it outperform than the other technologies? And, what are the features and benefits? And what are the capabilities I can address in my use cases? And that has been, if you like, the first couple of years challenges for adoption. And that's why in the last 2 years, 5G ECIA members collaborated and developed a couple of white papers to address, in terms of benefits of 5G, the capabilities that's coming along the road, spectrum requirements, for example, and deployment options, private network, etc. What are the options, 4 options there? And really to help them to understand, to start that first journey. Then the second phase, which is really important, and that's, I think it's a hot topic at the moment, is return on investment, and, when to invest, when to start that journey, really. Now, we've been convinced that 5G will be helpful on the factory floor, but next stage is, how do I do it? So that's about how and, when. And I think, as essentially from 5G ECI's perspective, we like to continuously address and provide the needs and the requirements from the industry players to ensure that demands, requirements are constantly reflected in the evolving 3GPP standards, to ensure that, that evolution paths, migration paths are out there. So when you start your journey, there's a kind of sensible return on investment in the long term. But most importantly, I think that's why the GSMA collaboration is really bringing the lights here, is that ecosystem, healthy ecosystem development at the kind of next step. And this really will help us to kind of force in terms of healthy device ecosystem, and also, kind of have a common understanding of the deployment scenarios and commercialization. So that is a stage which I think, help us to find out who to talk to. So we had the why, what, when, and how. But next stage is, where can I find my partner? And you really need to go to those kind of alliances, and that's the pace to accelerate that innovation.
Yeah, Fantastic. Absolutely. I think partnerships and the ecosystem are a common theme that we're hearing all the time in all of the discussions that we're having. So, and actually on that topic, in our joint press release that we put out at the end of January, in the quote, I'm going to read from my card, the 5G ACIA said that the collaboration between stakeholders and ecosystem is a prerequisite for successful adoption. And we wholeheartedly agree. We're seeing exactly the same thing as we're talking to all of our various forum members. And actually, we ran a webinar back in January on a very similar topic to today. We were talking about how to get started in 5G, and again, collaboration and partnerships was a key theme from all of our speakers there. So yeah, we're delighted to be announcing again this collaboration, and we think that it's going to really help to advance 5G in manufacturing. And from a GSMA perspective, of course, it really helps to redefine the benefit that network providers and network operators can offer for industrial deployments. So building on that, perhaps we could take a couple of minutes to think more about the collaboration, and from a 5G ACIA perspective, how do you see that potentially happening with our GSMA partnership?
Yeah, so the starting point, of course, with the 2 or 3 years building up insight into the key requirements and the needs of the industry. So one of the items on the list, obviously, is to gain that insight and you know, understand also the migration, integration challenges, and how we find a solution really to have that two boxes to address them. And thirdly, I think that's quite important, is to gain a common understanding of the industry, you know, kind of deployment, kind of consideration, not just about device, network, but also spectrum perhaps, but the whole kind of end-to-end solution. So we need that common understanding, and this is a really great platform to share that, and I'm really excited to see the future holds for both of the for this essentially the ecosystem, and yeah, it's very excited about the journey ahead.
And I think one of the opportunities as well from both of our perspectives, we want to be able to share the needs of the manufacturing and industry sector, and we want to make sure that it gets out there. So we've got these opportunities like Mobile World Congress today, and there's the Hanover Messe from 5G ACIA that happens. And actually, talking about that kind of brings, as we're coming towards the end of our chat today, I think one of the opportunities we might have is to talk to the audience about some of the resources that we both have within 5G ACIA and GSMA that are available that look at the various topics. So would you like to start?
Yeah, thank you. So 5G ACIA website, and indeed there's links to the white paper, which covers a wide range of technical and business aspects, but also there's a section on kind of showcasing, which you can see from the members, what they have been doing. There's quite a lot of interesting 5G use cases, in particular for the manufacturing sectors, kind of spread across different categories, process, automation, wide range. And of course, everybody is welcome to be a member, and you can join as a guest, but also to kind of come to the, first of all, the website. That's a first access point, really.
Fantastic, thank you. And actually, there's some really great webinars that I definitely recommend going to have a look at. And so, yeah, similarly, very quickly to wrap up, on the GSMA manufacturing website, we also have a number of papers and case studies. We've got a backlog history of webinars. Do sign up to our mailing list, and we'll make sure that you get invited to all of those future ones. And if you want to get in contact on the GSMA side, manufacturing@gsma.com, please drop us a note, and we'd love to have a chat to you about that. So I think we might be out of time, but Sylvia, thank you so much. It's been great to have a chat. It's been great to talk to everybody about the collaboration. Really looking forward to the next 3, 6, 12 months ahead, see what happens. And so with that, I would like to say thank you again, and I'm going to hand over to our next speaker, and that's Andres Escribano from Telefonica. So please, Andreas, over to you.
Hello. Thank you. Hello. I wait for the presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share with all of you the experience that we have like at Telefonica regarding with the use of the 5G and other digital technologies deploying in Industry 4.0. We have more than 4 years deploying private networks. We have 100 experience in industry sector, and we have up and running more than 30 private networks around the world in different technologies. And we try to reflect all of them because we consider that today we have a set of technologies that can reach the same level of maturity at technological and cost level. 5G, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, edge computing, all of them is part of the approach from the end-to-end perspective that Industry 4.0 needs. And this is a little journey where we are selected only a few cases, but I think it's representative for the explanation about how is the transformation for the factory. But let me start with a real challenge that every day we need to, let's say, solve when we are trying to convince the customer to working with us this transformation journey. The first thing is use case approach. It's quite important when you try to evolve or you try to convince the customer to move further in this kind of digital transformation. Identify the quick wins that really identify the success for the future. Okay, it's important. It's not possible to change the whole production line. You are not able to change dramatically the production. You need to go step by step. Identify these quick wins is crucial. Later on, you are able to go more in deeper, and you are able to integrate more and more use case. The second one is regarding with the 5G and wireless factory. 5G is so powerful, but you need again to modify the existing device or connection, and you need to go step by step, because in certain cases you are using a retrofitting approach. In other cases, you need to redesign the concept about the communication, because appears concept like a mobility or so on. The third point is regarding with the quality and service level agreement. Don't forget that we're talking about industry. It's not consumer side, it's not retail. We're talking about industry. In industry, service level agreement and reliability is crucial. You need to take care of this topic, because in general, when you design your product or your approach, it's necessary to take care about probably 4 and 5 nines in the reliability of your service. This is another important topic. And end-to-end. If you have problems only in one of the piece of the value chain, you have a problem, because you are not able to comply the service level agreement that the customer needs. The next topic is regarding with the design final technology framework. Let me explain. In general, when you are work in the operational mode with the companies, you're thinking in silos, stack. All things that you need, like an infrastructure solution and so on, is dedicated for this specific use case. We need to, again, in this digital transformation, open our mindset and design a solution that creating a framework where all different pieces possible to be included like an Lego. We're able to include it and apply synergies for operational or technological point of view. Other important topic in general, and this specifically is for manufacturing, you use the concept of 2 areas in the company, OT and IT, and these areas thinking in a different way. You need to combine it both to create this framework. If you only convince one of them, you are not able to, let's say, accelerate this digital transformation. And the last one, and for me the more important one, is the change management. We are talking about digital transformation. and automatization and so on, robotics, AGVs, and we forget one important piece of the equation, the employees and the people that are working with this digital solution. You need to include it and involve in the deployment of this kind of solution, or you lose the traction for really accelerate the digital transformation. Okay, with this challenge, we start with the success case. The first step for this journey is the artificial intelligence. We use an example that explains how the artificial intelligence are working, combining different technologies. Behind of the slide, you can see more or less the technologies that is involved in every use case that we explain, and we try to reflect it a little bit, the description of the solution and the benefit that we are able to be obtained. Here, the more important thing is we are able to solve one of the main problems that the port has. It's the example here, here, the virtual ports, where you are able to identify all the containers that are moving around the tolls in an automatic way and create a flow for this kind of transportation, thinking that I don't know, in average, it's talking about hundreds of trucks that is moving containers from the ports, and the artificial intelligence are able to extract all this information. Again, we have an IoT device, in this case, the camera. We are using 5G to transport in an efficient way all this kind of, let's say, of solution. We are using the edge computing for apply the algorithms that identify the different IDs for the container, and they don't take decision to open or close or the access to the toll. Benefits, because it's one important thing. Here the technology is only an enablement for the business. We are saving around 8,000 hours per year in the traffic for every movements around the ports. Another important benefits, probably is not the same level of tangibility, but it's quite important, sustainability. We reduce dramatically all the emissions that this kind of trucks usually happens when you are waiting for a queue, waiting for your access. This is one example. Next example, digital twin. When we're talking about digital twin, we have two approaches. Digital twin for the products and digital twin for the process. Today we are using the example of digital twin for the process. And this is the example. We try to, let's say, include optimization for the logistic flow, in this case for manufacturing companies. Seat is one of the leader, the car manufacturing in Europe, where all the, let's say, elements that is moving during the production line is connected. We are starting obviously with AGVs, MES, SCADAs, the employee itself is connected, and all this information that we are able to be, again, transferred and communicated by 5G are processing and creating a virtualized and simulation about the process, about the whole flow for the different components that is part of the, again, AGVs, personal people, etc., to allow the operational guys defining different exercise of a different alternative and see what's happening when a new AGV is introduced, when I modify several routes, or when we are introduce a new line for production. You are able to obtain benefits that is tangible in a reduction for the production time in 25%. This is a huge amount of, let's say, of savings. You are increase the operational effectiveness, equipment effectiveness, that is KPI for the equipment, in more than 10%. This is a huge amount of, let's say, of benefits for the customer, because it's able to capture savings directly in the production environment, simulating. No, it's necessary to touch nothing. When applied really in the real world, this kind of change, really, they are trusted that is a success. Next example. This is a little more complex. We are entering a little bit. Here is the 5G integrated assistant mobility. And tell me what means. This is the integration of the other benefit that 5G offers. That is, in this case, is V2X, that is creating an interchange of data for the all elements that are moving in the ports. Again, cranes, trucks, people that is moving are using, again, in this case, a MEC, it's an edge computing for the mobility world, that is created the gathering of all this information, creating a central point where all element that is moving is controlled and avoid any kind of possible accident, crash, and so on, launching alarms or stopping, in this case, element that is possible to be automatized. And you see the benefits. Here is the security, the safety. Here, the more important thing is about any kind of crash, incident, and so on. And the last one is, like a summary for all of one, is the use of the 5G in a logistic center. Here is fully dedicated private network for a specific use case for a logistic here in Spain, and an e-commerce company that is deploying a private network for accelerate all things related with the logistics, with the palliative routine movements, using the advantage to wireless factory concept. Remember, they are able to be flexible, they are able to change route dynamically, you are able to answer to the customer demands, and so on and so on. Benefits for this in this topic: we have improved more than 20% the response time for the palliative routes. That means we are able to moving a lot of more logistic elements in the whole process. This is again figures that we consider amazing when you introduce this kind of concept for the factory. And let me finalize with 3 recommendations when you are apply the digital transformation for the future. Do things differently. It's not substitute technology. You need to think in digital transformation. It's necessary to do the things in a different way. If you only substitute one technology for other technology, you are not really supporting digital transformation. Second, digital transformation is out there. You are not able to wait. You need to move faster. If you're thinking that it's not my challenge, it's not my role, it's not my position, it's a mistake. Happens, and you need to follow as soon as possible. And the last one, for me important, technology is an enablement for digital business, but the final focus is the transformation for the business, not apply technology. And this is important, and we try to reflect it during the presentation, more or less, in only 10 minutes, our experience related with the private networks and all things related with Industry 4.0. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks so much to Andres Escribano there from Telefonica. Yeah, perfectly summarised in 10 minutes. So we're now moving, sadly, to our last session of this manufacturing summit. So Cedric, Foray from EY, please join. You're going to be moderating this session, and I'll let you introduce the rest of the panellists if you'd like to come up to the stage.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Good afternoon. So I'm happy to be there. So I'm Cedric Foray. I am in charge of TMT for Europe West for EY. Very pleased to welcome the other panelists. So let's start maybe to Anne and Stephan, if you want to join me. So Anne is VP Mobile Network Testing at Rohde Schwarz. Matthieu, if you want to join, Matthieu Bourguignon is VP Enterprise Sales Europe for Nokia. Arnaud Van Paris, Senior VP for Radio Network and 5G Champion at Orange. And Sylvia will also join the panel, and we'll have this Head of Technology for u-blox. So let me... So following this great presentation of Andres, I'm very happy to moderate this panel. And the idea will be to hear about clear insight and experience for getting started with 5G manufacturing integration. And maybe to start this session, before asking some questions to the panelists, I would like to share 4 findings from our last study, EY Reimagining Industry Future Study 2022. This survey is based on this study is based on a survey of 1,000 enterprises globally. So we just issued this report in the last week. So 4 findings. The first one is 85% of businesses say their interest in 5G and IoT has increased significantly due to the COVID-19 pandemic. 1 year ago, it was around 52%. Second finding, it's 73% of businesses require greater understanding of 5G use cases and concepts. And I think, Andres, you demonstrate that we need to bring more information regarding these use cases, and you start by use cases. The third finding, only 24% of companies are very confident that they have the ability to successfully implement 5G. Only 24%. And the last last finding, 75% of businesses believe ecosystem strategy will become a significant driver of their growth in the next 5 years. And I think Sylvia and Joe already addressed this topic during the fire chat. So maybe, so we will really share some insights on case study from our different panelists. And we will like to explain how to move forward. And Andres said you need to think differently, and we will have to go on with some other good recommendations. So maybe, Anne, let's start with you. Could you say a few words about your company and your role, and share some example of use case of 5G? I understood from our past discussion that you are deploying 5G for your own factory, but you are also helping other manufacturing to implement 5G. Anne.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Cedric. So Rohde and Schwarz is mostly known as a test and measurement company throughout the complete telecommunication ecosystem. So in my specific role for the mobile network testing, we work as a trusted partner with the complete ecosystem worldwide in order to help them ensure that the network quality, the network services they provide are the best ones. And this also brings in the private networks. And I have to say, we are an engineering company, and therefore we are always the pioneers for the technologies. So for the 5G, as you mentioned, we have, on the one hand, also, as we are owning our own productions, not just studying the measurement solutions, but also use our own production as an experimental field. So on the one hand, this helps us to get first-hand insights about the challenges when it comes to network testing, when you apply a network, a private network, in a factory environment. On the other hand, as these are our own production lines, it also helps us to use really the key features and like latency, redundancy, and helps us to optimize our own productions as well. And we are not just doing this in our own productions, we are also working with key players, Nokia, like we have here in the forum, and Bosch together in order to gain more experiences.
Thank you, Anne. Maybe for Arnaud and Matthieu, when we spoke about 5G for manufacturing, we hear a recurring question for telecom operator and telecom vendor. Are you ready on 5G for business? So we get a bit of the answer from Telefonica. No need to introduce Orange and Nokia, but it could be interesting to hear from you how Orange and Nokia are bringing this new solution and to describe some real life experience and some use case. Maybe Arnaud, if you want to start?
Yes, Cedric, we are ready for 5G. We have now a full portfolio from virtual private networks going to mobile private networks. And we do see a real transformation, digital transformation in our business customers. So first, it's important, as you mentioned, we have 72% of our customers that are asking, how can I use 5G? And therefore, we already have opened a network of 9 5G labs in Europe to help them to understand the value and the utility of 5G. We have now hundreds of customers that has gone through this process, and 70 of them has already tested, despite the pandemic last year, a real 5G on field. So I can take some concrete example. If I take Schneider Electric factory, we have now live technicians using their 5G smartphone or tablets to access directly in real time the data of the machines they are operating. So they can see superimposed the data of the machine, they can have the full technical documentation, and they can have as well, when needed, help from a remote expert. If you want, by the way, to see something more advanced on that, you can come on our Orange booth. We are demonstrating there a collaborative XR solution with smart glasses. And it's quite amazing. You can handle 3D objects, having a chat through holograms, and experience what is coming on 5G connectivity. Of course, we have many more examples, so I really encourage you to discover on our website all the concrete example we have, it's 5glab.orange.com.
Thank you, Arnaud. Thank you, Arnaud. Maybe Matthieu, same question to you. Are you ready on the Nokia side?
We are ready. So in Nokia today, we have something like 400 live private wireless networks in the world and maybe 80 in 5G. So we are probably at the early stage of 5G for industry, but I would see 3 conditions to be successful and to accelerate the 5G adoption in the industry. First, the maturity of the ecosystem. So as it was said before, we need to test in many environments. So we test with Orange, we test with Rohde and Schwarz. We have a lot of partners like KUKA on Omron in Annecy, where we test the AGV, so the interoperability in 5G to be sure that this is performing well. We are also present in Stuttgart for the Arena 2036. Second, the expertise and the education. We don't need to have only the vendors or the service providers to talk fluently about 5G, but we need to have consultants, we need to have partners and also students, because they will be in your companies next. Third, probably the access of the spectrum. Depending on the countries, the flexible access to the spectrum is very different. In Germany, probably they have opened a large part of the spectrum, and there's a lot of activities there. So then, if you ask me the question of concrete use cases, I would name maybe 2 of them. One that I like very much is Lufthansa. So the technical aircraft service providers, 2 years ago, they were very interested to do remote maintenance with 5G on the aircraft. So they are doing remote inspections with video on the aircraft proposed by the airlines. And because of COVID, there was an acceleration of the testing, and finally it became a real deployment, something that is a service, part of the Aviatar fleet management service proposed by Lufthansa. Another good example is in Turkey with Arçelik, where we have a manufacturing plant, and they really wanted to improve the efficiency on the AGV in the manufacturing plant. They have 5G as a target. They started with 4G, and they see real improvement, 2-digit efficiency. Why? Because the efficiency of AGV is really better. It doesn't stop, it resets less, and it can go faster in the manufacturing. So 2 concrete cases that we have today.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthieu. Is it okay? Thank you, Matthieu. Thank you very much. Very concrete. Sylvia, so we just listened your fair chat with Joe a few minutes ago. But could you please share a few words regarding u-blox and tell us if the devices and the chipset are also ready for 5G?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So a couple of words, first of all, about u-blox. We are Suite's chipset and module vendor. Some of you probably know u-blox because of our 25 years reputation in the positioning market, because our GNSS GPS capabilities. But we also have a wide range of portfolio on the cellular and short-range connectivity, covering Cat-M, LTE-M, Narrowband IoT, but also Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity service as well on top of it, and also chip-to-cloud proposition solution. Now, back to your question, it's the quick answer to that is a yes and no. If we're looking at release 16, release 17 features, for example, time-sensitive networking for use cases where you need really tight time synchronization, then this perhaps is not something yet available on the market. But on the other hand, we know that most of the deployment on the market are really around release 15 eMBB mobile broadband use cases for the consumer. So it's sort of timeline. As you can see, the use case, the chipset and device availability do vary. It depends on which use cases are we addressing. Now, on the other hand, from u-blox side, we have been successfully demonstrating and trialing some of the 5G IoT capabilities with our partners in the European Commission funded project called 5G Smart for smart manufacturing. In the past 2 years, we've been using our connectivity solutions to provide time synchronization between devices in a versatile multi-sensor platform and provide that connectivity to the cloud in the factory. So as you can see, there are solutions out there which can serve some of the interesting manufacturing, in particular maintenance, condition monitoring, process monitoring, but also kind of digital twin use cases, as we showed earlier. So it depends on which journey you are. There are use cases can be addressed, but also there's advanced features for manufacturing. Perhaps we'll have to wait till release 17, even later timeline.
Thank you, Sylvia. Sorry. So it seems that we are ready, and maybe to elaborate with what Andreas just shared, how to think differently, and maybe Matthieu, a question to you: which approaches customers are taking to move on 5G manufacturing? What are the challenges they face, and how to select their use case?
To be honest, I would see 3 approaches on the market. The ones that are ready to deploy now. So there is a concrete use case, so based on connectivity, like, rationalization of a park of devices, site surveillance with 4K cameras connected in 4G and 5G, drone surveillance soon. So this is a concrete case. The second approach is test before scale. So the ones who would like to test, but there is probably 5G might be a bit intrusive in the production activity. So if you want to reflect differently, you need to reflect on the reprocessing of the activity, the merger between IT and OT, and it will take time. And I like your example because we are collaborating on Schneider Electric. I was 3 weeks ago with Schneider people, and I discovered discussing with a guy who is a manager of a production line. He told me, in fact, I discovered some use cases discussing with my team. So this is very interesting. It's not something that we will impose top-down, but we need also to have the people in the manufacturing plant being active and developing the use case. And the third approach is talk before test. So if people listening well to Nokia and to Pekka, our CEO, there is no sustainability without digital. There is no digital without 5G. So for sure, these people need to reflect on workshops on 5G, but probably they need to test. And they need to test with us this year in 2022.
Thank you, Matthieu. Maybe Arnaud, just to elaborate on what Matthieu just shared, how do mobile operators like Orange respond to manufacturing needs? How manufacturers should move forward on 5G?
We are responding to manufacturing needs via our 2 feet. We are Orange, operating in 26 countries as an operator. And we are as well Orange Business Services, an integrator in almost 200 countries. And that's why we are able, let's say, to, I will take back the magical formula from Telefonica, to offer this IoT plus 5G connectivity plus edge cloud and AI applications. And first, you need to start with IoT. So how to put 5G connectivity in any type of objects. And that's why on our website, you can have on IoT journey site, you can get 5G modules where you can put it in any objects. Of course, we are offering as well a wide range of industrial routers that fit this kind of environment. Second, on the 5G connectivity, of course, we have a lot of experience now on private networks. And for that, we need to plug these private networks inside an existing environment. So to secure it through firewall, to have something implemented with special radio conditions and so on. So you need some expertise there. And that's why we need to do the link between this connectivity and the existing cloud environment from the customers. So if I have a message to all the manufacturing partners, I think it's multi-cloud. You have to be able to plug your application, your connectivity to the existing edge cloud environment of a customer where he already have his business processes, his applications.
Thank you, Arnaud. Maybe Sylvia, you talk already about the importance of ecosystem. Can you maybe give a few words about the best way to develop this new value proposition and to engage with some other partners?
Yeah, my view is that it's about value co-creation with a partner and customers. If you look at some use cases, it's not just about connectivity that has been required on the factory floor, but also, for example, high precise positioning indoor between the factories from outdoor to one factory to the other, campus network, urban areas and rural. So, if you think about those different capabilities, they are potentially traditionally not deployed on same day one. So really, through that co-creation process, we need to start that discussion on day one with the customer, the partner, who deploy those private networks to make sure that your infrastructure setup are ready also for the positioning capabilities in day two, for example. So I think that is one key element, which is value co-creation with the customer, with partners, and you have the core, if you like, core value proposition, but also perhaps a icing on the cake value, which you need to be considered on the day one to really maximize the benefit. And secondly, I think really important to articulate those propositions in terms of the benefits that the customer and partners understand. So, ultra low latency reliability, but what does it mean in terms of efficiency, security, productivity? I think Testbed Trials has been a really great vehicle to translate those value propositions into the tangible business outcome, and I think that's quite important.
Thank you, Sylvia. Anne, can you talk about the importance of testing the network? There is a lot of questions regarding the quality of the network. There is also some question regarding the security, which is quite up to date today. Maybe a few words about this topic.
Absolutely. I liked a lot what you said, Andres. You said reliability is the key. And I would add security is the key as well, specifically in the industrial environment. You mentioned the 4 nines, the 5 nines. Who knows about that is the network is a significant part of that. So also the quality of the network is essential. And you have to test, you have to monitor regularly the network. And with the experience all of us have from the public networks, we can take that experience also to the private networks. But for the private networks, if you imagine a factory, how it looks like, lots of metals, you have different types of interferences, this also affects the tests you are doing. So you have to modify the tests. And join us, join the community, and support us in learning from the testing we are doing right now. We have definitely to create a new standard for the testing. And Sylvia, I'm so happy for the 5G ACIA. There are so many activities ongoing to address interactivity, to address different types of interferers, and really ensure we have the right test definition for a quality of service also in a factory environment.
Thank you, Anne. So my final question to all of you will be in 30 seconds, even 20 seconds, I think, a top tip for our audience. So I don't know, Arnaud, if you want to start?
Yes. Just contact us in one of our 5G lab. We will be delighted to work and fine-tune your 5G manufacturing use case, business case.
Anne?
Join us. Don't wait too long and help us to drive the next step for 5G manufacturing.
Matthieu?
I would say start small, think big, be ambitious. There are no boundaries with 5G, with Nokia, and come with us to test our technology to reflect on the future.
Sylvia?
The first step would be have a discussion, whether that's with GSMA or 5G CIA. I think that's really lead to the next step, and really we want to talk to many of you, and I'm also open to have a conversation later if you are around.
Thank you very much. We arrive at the closing of our session. I hope you enjoy as I enjoy it. Thank you for the panelists. Thank you to Joe and the GSMA for the organization of this session. Thank you, Eric. And have a nice Mobile World Congress. Bye-bye.